Good evening and welcome to the Radical SR8 Championship. Round 3 takes us to Ledenon in France, and we'll see how the drivers get on over the course of 3 races, one being 15 minutes, the second being 20, and the last being 25. I'm Tom Cairns in the commentary position. Alongside me is Jim Cunningham, who'll be with me for the next hour and a half to analyse the action as we are closing in on the end of qualifying in the last couple of minutes. Let's have a look at the championship standings, considering that we have now split from one championship into pros and AMs. We'll run down on the overall standings. It is Luke Maxwell leading the way ahead of his nearest rival, John Hutchison, by 11 points. And it's Paul LeMay in third place on 74, tied with Josh Reed, with Ivan Bremer in fifth on 71, followed by James Barry a further point back. Then it's Gert-Jan Polman, who is the highest of the AMs, in 6th place on 59. It's Jamie Bird in 7th on 58. Then we've got Stefan Mellis, Paul Crabb, Mike Bousson, Damien Guy, Andrew Horswood, Michael LeMay, Mena de Graaf, Josiah Douglas, David Walters, and Anthony Hilton, rounding out those at the top end of the standings. If you want to show them that in the pros and AMs as well, Jim, that'd be nice to see as well. So look at the pros. So it's Luke Maxwell ahead of John Hutchison. It's Paul LeMay, Josh Reed, Ivan Bremer, James Barry, Jamie Bird, Paul Crabb, Mike Bousson, Andrew Horswood. We've got Declan Marsden listed on there, who has not competed in either of the first 2 rounds, and it doesn't look like he's turned up here either. So we'll hopefully see him in the future rounds.
He's our mystery racer. He's our mystery racer for the season.
In the AMs, Gert-Jan Polman ahead of Stefan Mellis. It's Damien Guy in third with Michael LeMay, Josiah Douglas, Mena de Graaf, David Walters, Anthony Hilton, Peter Solders, Nick Marshall, and Ben Underdown, running out those there. Jim, let's properly introduce you to the booth. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be here with you again. Yeah, everything's good, man. This is a pretty cool track. We were talking about it before we came on the air. I don't get around here very well, but it is a fun track. It's got some nice elevation changes, as you can see there from the scenic images, and it's got a little camber in the turn. So these little cars should hook up pretty nice and grip up. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun event. And of course, I love our format, so the format makes this thing so much fun.
We're into the last 10 seconds of qualifying now. James Barry fastest, which would give him a championship point, is clear of Josh Reed, who's put in another brilliant effort so far. Luke Maxwell third, with John Hutchison in 4th place. John Hutchison, who was rapid round Watkins Glen last week, taking 2 wins and a 2nd place. But it's Luke Maxwell who still leads the overall standings. As we conclude qualifying, we can run down on the grid for the first race. James Barry on pole with Josh Reed alongside. It's Luke Maxwell and John Hutchison on the 2nd row of the grid. Andrew Horswood is in 5th ahead of Paul Crabb, with Mike Bousson and Ivan Bremer rounding out all those in the pro. Then we go into the AMs. Ben Underdown is 9th ahead of David Walters. There's Mena de Graaf, Stefan Mellis, Gert-Jan Polman, Josiah Douglas, Peter Soldis, and Damien Guy, rounding out the grid for the first race. Jim, just very quickly, what do you expect in this first race?
I honestly, I expect the big 3 or 4 to get up front, as always, and end up getting inverted to the back for the next race. It's we'll see. We'll see how everybody gets around. This first race will give us a good indication of who likes this track and who doesn't. So we'll get a good look at it from there.
I'm waiting for James Barry, Luke Maxwell, John Hutchison, Mike Bousson all to get onto the grid. I've got just about a minute or so to do that. Barry is on the grid now. I'm just waiting on Hutchison and Bousson to make their way on, and then we can get going here around this anti-clockwise section of Ledenon. 3.1 kilometers long, the full circuit that we are using this evening. First opened or broke ground in 1970, and it first opened in 1973. We're going for 5 red lights now, Jim, and we are good to go. 4, 3, 4, and 5. Lights on, lights off very, very, very quickly. And who has made the best of starts? Well, we're looking at Stefan Mellis, but it's James Barry who has got the jump on Luke Maxwell, who has absolutely got to a super start ahead of Josh Reed as they make their way through the first left-hander and through Gauge, and now they're coming out and heading towards the hairpin of Pont. And it's an early advantage there for James Barry as they come through the hairpin and up the hill. And there's another hairpin they'll be going through, which is the Cararas. And it will be the King of Cormel as we see the field filtering way through. That's Andrew Horswood, who's ahead of Paul Crabb, or he's just behind Paul Crabb, I should say. I can say that Ivan Bremer has had a spin further behind. We'll come to that in a moment as James Berry takes the early advantage. And it's Luke Maxwell in second place, Josh Reed, Paul Crabb, Andrew Horswood and John Mahutson, who's dropped back from fourth place on the grid. Mike Boosson up there as well. Ben Underdown, the highest of the AMs so far. We'll go to Ivan Bremer to find out exactly what happened to the Dutchman, because he went round at the Cararas corner, I believe.
Oops.
This is a slow mo that we are seeing here. If we can get a real time speed version of what happened to him, yeah, he just locked up, and the curb. Ooh, it was all right actually. Oh no, he didn't lock up. I don't know what happened there to Bremer. That was a really strange spin for him.
I think he had a little snap of oversteer, and he corrected it, and then it caught and snapped around on him the other way. I believe that's what happened there.
Even Bremer.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're going off track all over the place, though.
Yeah, they could well be getting some slowdowns if they carry on running wide the way they are doing. 15 minutes, as I've already mentioned, 20 points for a race win. 15 for second, and it's a point difference from each position downwards. This is a replay here. Josiah Douglas going off the circuit here.
Yep, sorry about that, Josiah. I don't want to get his name wrong. I think he gets worse than this, though. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That was
right
close.
In front of the pack there as well. That could have ended in tears for a couple more drivers.
Yes, indeed. But luckily, it didn't happen, so that's good.
Well, James Berry making no mistakes so far, yet to pick up a win this season. Only Luke Maxwell and John Mahutson have come away with wins. Bearing in mind, we didn't have pros or AMs determined for those 2 rounds, so it'll be different here. But if James Berry can get his season up and running after 2 difficult rounds in Watkins Glen and Mount Panorama, that will do his championship hopes somewhat good. At the end of the season, they exclude the 2 worst scoring rounds for each driver to determine the championship, so there's still a chance for James Berry to get back in the fray for the championship with Luke Maxwell and John Hudson, but he needs a consistent run of form to throw his name into that particular conversation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting they only get to drop 2 rounds. You know, we'll see. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna probably not change the standings too much for these guys at the top, unless one of them just has an absolutely horrible. I thought for a second Luke was going around there. This is a really nifty circuit if you watch it. It's it brings back, now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember that it's fun. I just don't get around here extremely well.
It's a very undulating circuit, I will say that for a fact. It's Ledenon. It's been around for over 50 years now, this circuit. Home of the French Formula 4 Championship, which is one of very few major racing categories that do go around this circuit. It's FIA Grade 2 as well, so don't bank on any hopes of Formula 1 racing here, because that's not going to be happening. Andrew Horswood running in 5th place behind Paul Crabb as they enter the hairpin upon before they go up the hill towards the Cararas hairpin. Andrew Horswood, who it's been a rather mixed season so far. It's like one race he'll do all right, and the next he just ends up on the receiving end of a particular incident.
I don't know, but I tell you what, I love this livery on his car. I'm a big fan of wildly colored race cars.
Paul Crabb as well is another one who is fast, but like Horswood has in his own. He's had his own melodies, hasn't he, Paul Crabb, over the course of this season so far?
He has. But I honestly think that's kind of what separates the top 3 or 4 guys, and then that mid pack of guys. They're a little faster, but they're also more consistent. That next group is fast, but they just have a few more inconsistencies in their game. And then of course you get back to the guys who just don't quite have the pace. But like Paul Crabb and several of them, Mike Buson, there's a bunch of them that have the pace, but just lack that little bit of consistency sometimes. Well, we've got some interesting paint schemes here. They're not showing up on the little cars on the bottom for some reason, but that's a interesting little paint scheme there as well.
I like that.
I hope trading paints is working properly. We've had some issues showing the proper paint schemes with this series, but I believe this is correct tonight. I know several of the schemes that I know for sure are right, so we'll see. But I believe this is correct tonight. Hopefully, it's been a mess.
Well, I tell you what, it has been a mess. Is for Paul Crabb, because he's had a spin on this lap. Don't know what's happened to him, and I think John Hutchinson has dropped down the order as well. He's having a nightmare of a race so far, by his standards.
We'll see what happens.
We'll find out.
Hutchinson here.
So he's had a spin.
Yep. Wow. Did I say consistency? I jinxed that. That's all on me right there. I literally just said those guys were consistent and didn't do that.
Yeah, we saw Paul Crabb go round for a spin when David Walters went past him. Don't know whereabouts that was. We just saw some gravel being left on the circuit. That could cause a few problems for the drivers later in this race. There is Paul Crabb.
Wow.
Horswood is right behind him, actually. I don't think he tagged him, but it was very marginal between the pair.
Yeah, I think, I believe I was trying to catch that. I think Horswood had just passed him. Or no, it was weird. I think he just got on the gas, maybe a little hard right there coming out of that turn. It's hard to say. I don't know. It was kind of an interesting spin because the car was straightened out by the time it kind of happened.
And Paul Crabb running in 9th position on the road. James Berry coming around to complete lap 6. Judging by the lap times we are seeing at the moment, we're probably going to get 12 laps in, maybe 13, depending on how quick James Berry gets round. But he's making this look so easy at the moment. 1.7 seconds clear over Luke Maxwell. On the last lap, James Berry produced a 1:14.5. The best lap he's done in this one is a 1:14.2. Luke Maxwell posted his best lap of the race, but it's still not as quick as what James Berry is producing. But that tells you that it looks like James Berry has got a better grip on this track than he has done in Watkins Glen and in Panorama.
Yes, definitely. And looking down here at McCutcheon and Crabb, who both spun, and they put down their last lap was in the 14s as well, which is an indication that they're pushing to to make up some ground from where they lost. Which they're significantly quicker than the guys around them, like a second or more per lap. Oh. James had a little off the track there a little bit. Not too bad, but a little.
No, it was okay there from James Berry. It was on the curb where it got a little bit wrong, but made up for it. Heading over the line, there is Luke Maxwell, there's Josh Reed, Andrew Horswood not too far back. Not really seeing overtaking happening at the moment. I don't know if it's just the fact that some of these drivers are not as equipped to how others have done, or maybe they just want to make sure they get points on the board in this first race. The top 5 at the end of race 1 will be reversed for race 2. As it stands, it's Mike Buson. He would be on reverse grid pole for the second race. That'll be 20 minutes long. Same point system as race 1. And then at the end of race 2, it's the top 10 that get reversed from that race for the race 3 grid.
Yeah, they've kind of spread out and settled in here a little bit, which is not necessarily common for this series. They usually a little pack runs together, or actually a couple of little packs, and that's not really happening right now. It's interesting. Pop back here and see what's going on back here as Ewan Brimmer is all over. Who's he? That's Jurgen Pullman.
Yeah, this shouldn't be a competition here. I think Pullman knows this is not his fight. He doesn't need to get involved in the scrap with Bremer. And Bremer goes through.
No, he got that gravel.
Around. Oh, he touched the gravel, didn't he? He touched the leftover gravel on the outside.
Yeah, he got in that debris up there, and it sure all came close to spinning him out. Wow. Yeah, that's and he was just moving over to get out of the way, and that got him. You know, I'll tell you what I do think is going to end up being a battle here is McCutcheon and Crabb are coming back up through the field. You know, they are, in theory, could get into a position to put themselves on the pole for the next race. You know, because we're going to have top 5 reverse. So if McCutcheon or Crabb could get back to 5th place, which this would be a pass here for McCutcheon to take 7th place.
Well, he's got to get past Walters, he's got to get past Underdown, and he's got to catch up to Mike Bousson, who's about 8 seconds up the road from Hutchinson. I think Hutchinson's going to find it too much, really, in such a short space of time. It's likely he'll have 3 more laps after this to get it done. He's got past Walters now. He needs to get past Underdown, and he needs to find a way past Bousson. But even if he finishes 6th in this one, it's not the end of the world, because he can still find a way back into it.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, of course. I mean, you know, you could put him at 16th, and he could certainly, as the races get longer, find his way back into it. It looks like we've had several incidents. Let's go. This is Damon Gee was involved in something.
This is with, this is John Hutchinson going through on David Walters.
That's weird.
That was.
Oh, there we go. I don't know why I did that. That was strange.
So we've seen Damien Gee. Is that Peter Solders behind?
I believe it is, or is it?
No, it's not.
No, it was,
Damien Gee. That's Damien Gee going for a spin.
Maybe?
Might have been Menno de Graaf going past him. It was Menno de Graaf that went past him. And but I think there's something going on with Peter Solders who...
Yes, well, there's also Josiah Douglas again here. Same... that's where he spun earlier, I believe. Same spot.
Yeah, same spot.
Which that's a tough... Don't get me wrong, that's a tough turn, because right there, actually the track kind of falls away from you. So as you crest over that hill, the car gets really light right there. That's a tough spot. Apparently maybe he got off track again, or I don't know. I was going to stick with it here for a second, but maybe not. And then, yeah, here's what happened to Zoldis.
He missed the apex slightly there.
He did.
Oh. Car just wouldn't stop. I wonder if there was a connection issue there for Peter Soldis. So
yeah, maybe, huh? Because yeah, he's gone. He's all the way at the bottom. Is he? Yeah, I don't see him now. Interesting. Yeah, that must have been a connection issue. The way it just took off on him like that. So McCutcheon has narrowed the gap since we were talking about that. He has narrowed the gap down to just half a second, and it was a little over 2 seconds. So, and he's done that in, let's say, about a lap and a half, maybe. So he's got one. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get there, like you said. I think 6th place might be all he's going to get.
Well, James Barry has started the 12th lap. He might just get over the line to do one more. If he does that, that will come to John Hutchinson's aid in his pursuit of Mike Bousson. But he needs to get past Ben Underdown first before he can even think about getting that lucrative 5th place and reverse grid pole.
Yeah, that's let's see. Here, ride with him a little bit. He's closing it down. Oh, he really drove it in there, didn't he?
Yeah. And that's the difference between being an AM leader and being someone who knows this car from the back of his own hand. John Hutchinson.
I mean, McCutcheon is so good in this car, you know. So good. Barry, too. I mean, you know, James Barry is a guy that races in a lot of different series in these cars.
We'll just see if Hutchinson can find a way past. Well, the Czechoslovak is out, and James Barry is going to come round to take victory here in Ledenon. James Barry takes the first victory ahead of Luke Maxwell by over 4 seconds. We did think whether it was going to be one more lap, but it's not. That was the final lap. James Barry takes his first win of the season ahead of Maxwell, with Josh Reed in 3rd place. It's Andrew Horswood in 4th, Mike Bousson 5th, Ben Underdown, the winner of the AMS in 6th place, and John Hutchison. Paul Crubb, David Walters, and Ivan Brummer making it back into 10th place. Stefan Millis completing the podium of those in the AMS in 11th spot. It's Gert van Polman, Menno de Graaf, Damien Gee, and Josiah Douglas, the rest of those. To head over the line, Peter Solders was the only one to not finish there. Mike Booston will be on reverse grid pole for the race to grid. Douglas gets over the line. We'll quickly run down on the results, Jim, because they'll be...
Yeah, let's see if they've popped up yet. I don't believe that they... Oh, there they go.
Yeah. So we'll run down very, very quickly here. James Barrow, the winner, and it's Luke Maxwell second it. And it's Josh Reed, Andrew Horswood, Mike Bousson, Ben Underdown, and John Hudson and Paul Crow. David Walters ahead of Ivan Brummer, Stefan Millis, Guillaume Polman, Menno de Graaf, Damien Gee, Josiah Douglas were the rest of those to finish, and Peter Solis did not finish the race there. Mike Bousson on reverse grid pole ahead of Andrew Horswood with Josh Reed and Luke Maxwell on the second row of the grid. And we've got James Barry and Ben Underdown on row 3, followed by John Hutchison and Paul Crubb, David Walters and Ivan Brummer on next, followed by Stefan Millis and Gert-Jan Polman, Menno de Graaf, Damien Gee, Josiah Douglas, and Peter Soldis round off the grid. And we are raring to go for race number 2 here. We've just got a few drivers waiting to get on to the grid. But that was a decent first race, wasn't it?
It was. I was really shocked by the way it spread out like it did. I just did not expect that.
We've got the 5 red lights coming on, and they'll go out, and we'll be racing here. Lights on, lights off, go again here in Ledenon. And Bousson does not get the best of starts. It's Horse who takes the early advantage before they get to the first break. Instead, Bousson spins. Bousson in front of the whole pack and collects one of the arms. That's David Walters he's comes together with, I think.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Let's sort out what's going on up here, and then we'll go back and look at that. Wow. Man, and Horsewood got a heck of a jump, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a great start from Andrew Horsewood into the lead straight away. Luke Maxwell up to second place on 4th. Reed retaining his 3rd place, although he's just been overtaken by John Mahutchison now. Mahutchison on a charge. He's about to lose it. And how on earth did he gather it all up? He cut the corner there as well to save it, did John Mahutchison. Yeah, I think he might have got a slowdown, actually. Yeah, he did pick up a slowdown, so he lets Josh Reed go. But he's tangled with him, and he's made an absolute mess of that as John Hutchison.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I don't think that was intentional, but it sure didn't look good.
No, Josh Reed will be livid with that. He won't be too happy with that, will Josh? But that was a very, very bizarre incident. The field their way through the final parts of the lap. It's Andrew Horsewood leading, Luke Maxwell second, it's Paul Crubb, James Berry, Ben Underdown remaining the leader of the AMS in 5th place, it's Ivan Brummer, John Hudson in 7th position, Gert-Jan Polman in 8th, Menno de Graaf 9th, and it's Stefan Millis, Josiah Douglas, and Josh Reed, the only runners in the field now. Damien Gee and Peter Solders did not take the start, and we've lost Mike Bousson and David Walters on that first lap.
Yeah, that was quite an interesting first lap. I want to go back and look at the incidents, but I'll let this action settle out just a little bit here. Oh my goodness, we got one off the track there. I believe that was Minnow. No, that was not Minnow. It was Stefan Millis.
It was Millis that just went way too deep, and he's falling back behind Josh Reed, who will be desperate to get back through and get some points out of this. But Andrew Horsewood doing a super job so far, but how long will it be before Luke Maxwell gets onto the rear of the man who's going for his first win? And this is James Barry. I don't think it'll be too long either, and I don't think it'll be too long before James Barry disposes of Paul Crubb. Oh, that's a tap. He's tapped Paul Crubb round there as James Barry.
You might have used the right word there. Disposed of. Holy cow. All the things. Yeah, let's see here.
Maybe Barry didn't have enough time to react.
Yeah, I think he might have got a little weird wiggle coming out of that turn. Let's go back and look at it one more time from this angle.
It was very, very close, and if he was that close, then he may not have had time to react to it. Yeah, he's just nudged him round as James Berry.
All right, it's so much to see. All right, there's our leader out there, and I tell you what, I mean, not saying it's not going to happen, but so far he's holding off Luke pretty nice. He's actually even, added to the gap a little bit.
Super job so far from Andrew Horswood, but can he maintain it and keep his car on the circuit? We're looking at the battle between Ben Underdown. Oh, that's Bremer. Too close there was Bremer, and that's costing the position to Hutchison.
Wow, man, there's some crazy action going on here early. This is only lap 4. I feel like we've had a race worth of action already.
Well, certainly a lot more than race 1, that's for certain. But yeah, that was a parting gift there for John Hutchison going past, and now he can set his sights on Ben Underdown and get through without causing any more problems to the drivers. Josh Reed has got past Mena de Graaf for 8th place on circuit. Yeah, Pullman is the next one.
Let's go back and look at the start of that race again, and we want to focus on Busan. So he did not get off the line very well, and then as soon as he turned it in, it just cooked around on him. And then, of course, we know what happened here. That was huge impact right there. And
yeah, Busan would have taken significant damage from that.
Yes, well, and he tried to go on, and he had numerous other little incidents after that. Like, for example, oh no, that was the actual start of the race there. But then he had, I believe this is where Walters hit him. No, this is maybe another little. I think he's just trying to baby it back around to the pits, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
we'll jump back to live for now, but yeah,
Reed is ahead of Jan Pullman for P7. Hudson is still behind Underdown, and this is Reed and Bremer. No, sorry, that's Jan Pullman who's just got by.
Yeah, there's still Pullman's putting up a fight though. He's not giving it up easy. But again, not necessarily his fight, I mean.
Well, Andrew Horswood still maintaining the lead ahead of Luke Maxwell, looking very, very good, actually. I didn't think he'd be pulling out the gap. I thought Luke Maxwell would be right on the table. Did you see all that leftover gravel on the outside there?
It was unbelievable.
It's almost like it
was so much. It was like its own gravel trap on the track. It was so bad.
Well, he's doing a fine job of it. Ben Underdown ahead of all those in the AMs. Having a super evening as far as we know.
Underdown's on a nice run right here.
He is. He's having a good evening, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's got a nice gap on second place. I mean, like 10 or more seconds.
Well, they are going through lap number 6 here. I mean, 20 minutes, as you say, for this one. The same point system as what it is in race 1. But unlike in race 1, it's the top 10 that will determine the reverse grid for race number 3. And Josiah Douglas will be the one on reverse grid pole for then. But John Hudson is he's still struggling to get through on Ben Underdown here. Knows he's a lot quicker than him, but the defensive driving of Underdown is helping him rather nicely, and this is beginning to hinder Hudson's race a little bit now compared to the kind of race that he should have been in had it not been for the incident with Josh Reed.
Yeah, I don't know if putting up a huge fight against McCutcheon is the smartest move. I get that you want to hold on to 4th place overall, but also you're setting yourself up for something to happen and mess your race up, because McCutcheon's going to start pushing to get by you eventually, especially when we get to like that, 10-minute mark or something, hit the halfway point, he can't stay behind you forever. And, I think you set yourself up for a little bump from behind by accident and get spun out. And next thing you know, you lose what you've accomplished. But I don't know. He's doing good so far.
He's doing well. He's been underdown and having a nice season up to this point. And he'll look to add to his points score and continue being ahead of those in the AMs in the forthcoming rounds. We'll run down on the calendar later on after the second race is done. There is a 5-minute warm-up which the drivers will take the opportunity to just have a breather, and then we can run down on the calendar.
I tell you what, underdown is causing here is starting to form up a little traffic jam behind him. Now you got Bremer, who's been brought into the picture here. You know, and again, McCutcheon sees, you know, another pro behind him. He's going to want to pick the pace up. And again, like I said, I just don't want to see, you know, you're fighting along, and next thing you know, you get bumped by accident. One of these pros trying to get around you. I don't know. It's hard to say give up fourth place, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's doing a super job. He's underdown, fighting it out. I'm maybe a little bit surprised he was allowed to be in the AMs as opposed to be in the pros, because he is making it as difficult as possible for Hutchison and Bremer. And you can see the gap between Barry and underdown. It's now increasing to 6.5 seconds. The lap times that Barry did compared, well, the last lap time that Barry did compared to underdown was 1 second quicker. Now, when you look at the lap times, 1 minute 14.1 to 1:15.1, that tells you the difference between Barry and underdown, purely on the basis of how quick they are on paper rather than the results. But Hutchison, from what we've seen from him in previous seasons, has got the pace to do this, but he's not finding it easy around here.
Well, you know, it's making me believe that this track may be a bit harder to pass at than I first thought. You know, I really felt like maybe that this track wasn't going to be the toughest to pass at. Oh no, McCutcheon ran wide.
He was able to collect it though, and he remains in front of Ethan Bremer for the time being. Watch out for Josh Reed, because he's closing on this trio closing now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're getting a real traffic jam here, and you know that I'm telling you, somebody's gonna get up there and put some heat on underdown soon. You know, we've got. Tell you what is inside. We've got Maxwell and Barry, Jim. They're now like quarter of a second between them, and there are Maxwell and Barry. Now Luke Maxwell, who came into this round as the championship leader, he's hoping that he keeps hold of that by the end of tonight, and I think it is likely he will do, because John Hudson has not had a very good evening so far, and he's not making any inroads on Maxwell in the championship. Coming around the last corner, Maxwell and Barry. Maxwell goes defensive before they get to turn 1 to break the toe, and Barry waits back for the time being before he even thinks about getting an overtake. That looks to the outside. There's no grip there though, James. I think you can just wait back a little bit. Heading down towards the right-hander of Pont. Those Maxwell just running a little too deep. Barry just not really finding the way through it. I think this goes back to you were saying about how difficult it is to pass around this circuit, Jim, as Barry gets too close and spins. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Wow.
Well, it's certainly given Horswood the buffer now to win this race.
It has.
Surely he cannot throw it away from here.
So it showed. That's weird. Why would it show?
Well, this is on the way to the Kerry Rat.
It just showed that Maxwell crashed. Oh, he did spin too. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he expected Maxwell to be on the power as late as he did there. It's a racing incident, but
yeah. Well, again,
that's a really unfortunate moment.
That's that same turn I was talking about earlier, where your car gets really light coming out of there, especially if you've got the wheel turned a little bit when you crest that hill. You know, it's kind of like that big turn at Lime Rock Park. You know, if you got the wheel turned at all when you crest that hill, it gets light. You got to wait, because the car is going to kind of land and want to jerk sideways a little bit. You know, there is stuff going on all over the place.
Well, despite that spin, Barry is still in third place. He hasn't lost a position. This is Jan Polman off the circuit. Stefan Mellis very nearly went off himself at the same time. Took advantage here. Oh, and they very nearly collided.
He was in all that. He was in all that gravel we've been talking about too. You know.
Yeah. He still tried to attack the corner as well, even with all the gravel on his tyres. He should have just accepted defeat on this occasion and let Mellis go through, and then used the next few corners just to get rid of all the gravel on his tyres and get on with his race. In the AMS then, Ben Underdown is undoubtedly going to be winning this one, providing he stays out of trouble. And we've got Stefan Mellis second and Pullman third.
We still got him stacked up behind him. You know, we got McCutcheon, Reed, and even Bremer. You know, I got to feel like that at some point in time here, somebody's going to make a hard move on him. If he's making it that difficult to get around him, somebody's going to decide it's time to go, you know, because the gap ahead of Underdown is opening up pretty significantly, you know, and the race is getting away from these guys, and there's only 6 minutes to go. At this point, honestly, if they got by him, the race may be, you know, too far gone for them to catch the next guy, which would be Barry, of course, who's obviously incredibly quick himself.
Well, Reed has already got past Bremer, and now he's on the rear of Hutchinson for the first time since they came together on the first lap. So I don't think it's going to be too long, I think, before Reed gets past him, because in my opinion, I think Reed has had a better evening compared to how Hutchinson has done.
I'm going to tell you, Reed's had a heck of a season so far. He is, I mean, every race we seem to be talking about, you know, Reed this, Reed fast, you know, passing these guys. And wow, what a season he's having so far. He's hooked up in these cars. He's got a, you know, he's been practicing or something. He looks great.
Well, he certainly has been putting the laps in. They have had a practice session before Quali started, did these drivers. Some of them did. I think we had about 8 or 9 that did the practice session, and then everyone else just joined in, considering that they probably know the circuit from the back of their own hands as much as they know the cars from the back of their own hands. I will say that Paul Crabb is now up into 10th position, important for the reverse grid pole later.
Oh, he is. That's a good spot to be sitting. I don't know that I'd try to pass anymore. I believe I'd just sit right there. You're not going to get too many more positions, so you might as well just take that pole and run with it for the next race. Well, Walters had an incident back here. Looks like several. Let's go jump back there real quick, although I'm probably going to regret that.
Well, he's taking too much curb.
Same spot. Bring some more gravel on the track there. Look at all that debris. Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that turn's gotten a lot of them, and I can't lie, it's gotten me numerous times as well. Yeah, I think Josh Reed's fixing to put a hard move on McCutcheon here. He's tired of waiting.
Yeah, he's tired of waiting, but he's got to keep this clean, has Reed. He's allowed the door for Bremer. That was so close for Bremer to just sneak past that. But Reed just saw that in time and remained in front.
Why do I feel like
Dutchman.
We're going to get some action here before this is over with right here? I really feel like this is fixing to be an action spot. Oh, Reed kind of swung right there, and here comes Bremer. Yeah,
and he's going to get a little bit of gravel on his tyres, that I thought, will Reed, and that's allowed Bremer to go through. Reed does not leave him room, though. He refused to let him go by. That was a little naughty from Reed.
That was a little naughty. That's an interesting little turn too. It looks different on camera versus when you're driving it. Look at all of that debris. Holy cow! Yeah, you need to put some laps in here. I think you'll enjoy this track actually. What's funny is, I really did not have positive feelings about this track, you know, myself, but watching them race it makes me want to go race this track now. I guess I forgot, you know.
I can imagine the feeling.
Yeah, I know the track, and I want to go drive it. I really do. I'm going to look for a race that's there just to go do it.
I don't know whether Hutchinson is enjoying driving on the circuit, or is it just the fact he's frustrated of being stuck behind Ben Underdown all this time. Ben Underdown is putting in such a brilliant drive. I didn't think he would hold on to the position he has been, but this has been a sterling effort by Ben Underdown, better than I thought he would be doing, and it's making John Hutchinson really, really fight for it. And still, John Hutchinson, the talisman of this championship, or one of the talismen, not able to find a way through.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. I mean, this is I'm shocked, to be honest with you. First of all, I'm shocked that Underdown, not that I don't know a lot about Underdown, but I'm shocked that he had enough pace to stay in front of McCutcheon this long, no matter who you are. That's hard to do. And I'm shocked that McCutcheon is not more aggressively trying to get around him. I wonder if John missed the setup on this track, you know. If I'm not mistaken, he likes to run extremely low downforce cars. Like if I look at Reed here, Reed's...
Yeah. Does Reed go for it into Gauge? I don't think he does. He wasn't quite alongside enough there. Maybe able to do a switch back, but Hudson gets back on the racing line and he can shift his focus on going after Underdown again, but still can't find a way through.
Yeah, McCutcheon is known for running really low downforce cars and like extremely low. And I wonder if maybe he might have just got the setup a little wrong here. You know what I mean? Because it's just not like him to not be able to get around. You know, Underdown's having a fantastic run, but this is McCutcheon we're talking about, you know?
Andrew Horswood is about to come round to take the checkered flag, Jim. And this is going to be a first-time win of the season for Andrew Horswood, who wins in Ledenon in France. A well-deserved win, untroubled. What a drive from him. Luke Maxwell holds off James Barry to the end to take second place and extend his championship lead. Barry with another podium out of this. Fourth is Ben Underdown, holding off John Hutchinson. It was a drag race to the line between him and his fellow Scotsman Josh Reed. Even Bremer 7th. Stefan Millis a long way behind in 8th place. Is going to hold off Paul Crabb, who got past Jan Polman, who will start on reverse grid pole for race 3. With Menno de Graaf, Josiah Douglas, Mike Bousson and David Walters, who did rejoin the race, albeit a couple of laps behind, but they still bring the cars home. There is Menno de Graaf, who that's Mike Bousson who's behind, but Bousson was a lap down on him. So we're just waiting for Josiah Douglas to get over the line, and then we can run down on the race 2 result.
Yeah, this has been quite interesting, I have to say. All right, let's see here. So this should be.
I think they've got into the warm-up session, but this is the race 2 result. Andrew Horswood wins for the first time with Luke Maxwell in 2nd place. James Barry 3rd. Ben Underdown wins in the AMS ahead of John Hutchinson and Josh Reed. Evan Bremer in 7th place, followed by Evan Bremer. Stefan Millis in 8th. Paul Crabb 9th and Gaetan Polman in 10th position and on reverse grid pole for race 3. Menno de Graaf in 11th, followed by Josiah Douglas. Mike Bousson a lap down. David Walters 2 laps down at the finish. Damien Gee and Peter Soldis didn't even take the start of that one.
I have to say, looking at this race, there's 2 real extremely obvious surprises there. You know, Underdown with that incredible run in 4th place in the AMS, you know, overall 4th place, winning the AMS by a mile, and holding off the people he held off, and obviously Horsedown getting a win here. Fantastic run for him. Again, held off Luke Maxwell. That's not easy to do. Wow. Both of those are quite shocking to me. That's fantastic, though. Really, it is.
And I think John Hudson will have some work to do. He needs a strong result of it, considering that his rival in the championship, Luke Maxwell, has picked up 2 second-place finishes. Hutchinson has ended up with a 7th and a 5th.
You know, I've never really run one of these like triple split races like this. I wonder if you can tune your setup in between races, or if you're stuck with what you went in with at the beginning.
We can ask John Hudson that question whenever, or even Luke Maxwell, when they come into the commentary booth later this evening.
You know,
but Andrew Horse,
McCutcheon had to miss the setup here. He just had to. That's the only thing I can think, because he couldn't he couldn't get to Underdown's bumper. It didn't look like. So I don't know. That's wow. I'm really completely shocked by those two. That's so fantastic for those guys, man. And look, I know what I would feel like if I was able to hold off McCutcheon or Luke Maxwell, especially to get a win ahead of all of those guys like Horsedown did. Man, I would be ecstatic.
I would be over the moon to hold them off for that long. So I have to say, hats off, and give a few brownie points to Andrew Horsewood and to Ben Underdown for those performances.
Yeah, no matter what happens, you know, at the end of this last race here, no matter where they finish, we have got to. Hopefully, those guys jump into the booth and we get to talk to both of them because they certainly deserve it.
We've got a couple of minutes before we get ready for the race 3 grid. Let's run down on the calendar, Jim, because we haven't been through that this evening. So we've been to Mount Panorama and Watkins Glen. Tonight is Ledenon. And it's off to Knockhill in the UK next week, followed by Sebring in America with Thruxton and Solder to round out June. Road America round 8, and then it's Spa and the historic circuit of Monza to wrap up the season on the 21st of July.
So, isn't it next week that you're going to be at Knockhill? Is that right? Or
no? I mean, this weekend I thought I was going to Thruxton, but me and the crew that I was meant to be going with, so me and the crew that we were meant to be going to Thruxton this weekend for British Touring Cars, we just simply couldn't get a hotel sorted because it basically the teams who are going there, British Touring Car teams and all the other teams, you know, for the support championships that are competing. Were able to get hotels before we were able to, so that just proved to be a stretch too much. But we are looking to go to Alton later this month. But Knockhill, we're going to try and get to, which has been held. It's holding its British Touring Car races in August.
So Paula May popped into the YouTube chat and pointed out that this is a fixed setup race. So I don't know what to make of that then. You know?
Well, if when you say fixed setup, does that mean it's the same setup for everyone?
Yes. Fixed setup means that there's one setup and everybody runs it, and about the only thing that you can change, probably in these cars, the only thing you can change is brake bias. So yeah, other than that, there shouldn't be any other adjustments on these cars. You know, the more advanced cars you get, they give you a couple of more adjustments, even though they call it a fixed setup or whatever. But these cars, I would venture to say that, in fact, I'm almost positive the only adjustment you get is, everyone's the same, and brake bias is probably the only thing you can adjust. Which brake bias wasn't causing any issues. Which to me, knowing that this is a fixed setup, makes what those guys did even more impressive.
We've switched over to the race now from the one, so we'll run down on the grid for race number 3. Gert-Jan Polman is on.
Take the schedule.
He's on pole with. He's on reverse grid pole. Gert-Jan Polman. It's Paul Crabb alongside Stefan Millis and Ivan Bremer next, with Josh Reed and John Hodgson on row 3, followed by Ben Underdown and James Barry, Luke Maxwell and Andrew Horswood running out the top 10. Meta DeGraaf and Josiah Douglas are on row number 6, followed by Mike Bousson and David Walters. The last two on the grid, provided they do take the grid, are Damien Gee and Peter Solders. We'll just wait for a few more to get onto the grid, and it'll be go for race number 3. Gert-Jan Polman. We're not expecting to get off the line sweetly, so we'll see how he gets on. The final lights are coming on now for one last time here tonight. Lights are on. Lights off. Brilliant start by Paul Crabb, much better than Gert-Jan Polman, and takes the early lead. And we're looking at John Mahutson, who's about to go side by side with Stefan Millis, and he looks like he's got ahead of Ivan Bremer. By the looks of it, Mahutson is ahead of the Dutchman before they get to the gauge corner. So Mahutson early in five, but he's got seconds. And who's that that's run into him?
That's Maxwell and McCutcheon.
Championship leaders run into him.
Wow, yeah, that's not a good situation at all there. We'll go back and look at that again here in a minute. Let's see.
Well, Paul Crabb is in the lead at the moment with Stefan Millis and Gert-Jan Polman. James Barry moving in front of Mike Bousson. Now, that is the dream scenario for James Barry, because if he can get another strong result out of this, he'll close down the arrears on the likes of Maxwell and Hudson in the championship before they head to Knock Hill next week.
Yes.
Josiah Douglas has dropped down the order as well. But let's get a replay of that first lap mayhem, Jim, because that was so bizarre and quite predictable, actually, when you think of it, because with it being a reverse grid, the cars are mixed up. Some drivers are out of position compared to where they would normally be. Something like this was bound to happen, and it happened here. So we're looking at John Hudson here. This is Josh Reed we're focusing on. So Maxwell plows into Reed to begin with and takes Hudson with him, and you can just see there's more cars just plowing. That's Andrew Horswood has also got involved in.
Yeah, there's... Wow. All right, let's see here. Let's look at that one more time, just to sort through all of that. Yeah, we're focusing on Reed here.
So that's Maxwell up the inside
So
there. But Reed got boxed in.
Well, and whoever that car was that was running up on the upper outside over there was twitching really, really, really bad. And I think he kind of popped back to the inside a little bit, and Reed caught him. If you watch, I'm not sure who that is. Maybe right there. That he's on the... See, he's twitching right there, and then he comes back inside, and Reed hits him, and then that just causes mayhem back there. Wow.
I mean, Maxwell went to the left, but he just couldn't get the car slowed down and took Hudson with him. So, in my opinion, if there was anyone responsible for that, I would personally, point the finger at Maxwell, because he was the one that went for the gap that he felt was there, but just couldn't slow down and took Reed and Hudson out of the race. But we'll discuss that more with him later. But as James Barry goes for it with Stefan Millis for second place, this shouldn't really be a contest here. There is obviously a big pace difference between the two, given that Millis is an AM and Barry is a pro. Barry should be able to make light work of him. It's a 25-minute race this time around, so there's no need for James Barry to rush this, and he'll want to get by and complete a switchback on Stefan Millis before they get to the Carreras. And the Millis coming back there, but he's run too deep, and Barry should be able to say thank you very much, and he heads through, as does Mike Bousson.
Yeah, that was Stefan gave him a fight, but like I said, he just cranked it in there a little too hard. I just realized Paul LeMay popped in the chat to help us out there a little bit. He's not here, unfortunately. I just kind of realized that he wasn't here. I'm like, I haven't said his name tonight, and then I realized he's not here.
Yeah, I don't know what he and Michael LeMay are up to, because but neither of them are here this evening, unlike the previous 2 weeks.
Well, my concern is Paul not here because he's on a holiday or a work trip, or is he having some issues with his arm? He does. Well, look at, man, Bousson is all over Paul Crabb here. Boy, Paul Crabb recovered okay, because he sure did get a bad start, and I think he would have really been punished had that big incident not occurred.
Well, he's behind James Barry. James Barry took the lead from Paul Crabb on that last lap.
Yes.
So James Barry, winner of race 1, took pole position for that as well. So that's another point. He also finished third in race 2, despite that spin when he tangled with Luke Maxwell at the corner, which they've just gone through. And, this has been a far better evening for James Barry compared to how Hudson has been as well. Although with Maxwell, he's had 2 second places, but this race so far by Luke Maxwell's standards has been one to forget.
Yeah, I think, looks like Luke had another incident back here.
Now this is with... Oh, that's Josh Reed, actually, who just allowed him through. Oh, and Luke Maxwell going into the gravel. Just about avoids the wall. But he's got some gravel on his tyres, so that he will have needed to just, weave around the circuit just to get those, get the gravel off the rubber. And now we're looking at Mike Bousson fancying a go on Paul Crabb. John Hudson running in 5th place on circuit. He's just got by Gert-Jan Polman. Stefan Millis is the next driver up from him. We're looking at the gap between Millis and Hudson. It's not far between the pair of them, actually. 1.5 seconds. If we can get the timing tower on the screen, please, Jen, so that the audience can see it. So it's all looking good for James Barry to continue his consistency throughout tonight. Paul Crabb, who we've hardly seen that much at this end of the field this season, in all honesty. Mike Bousson the same. Mike Bousson is an interesting one because we know how quick he can be, but the results just haven't really aligned with that.
No, he's had some bad luck. Probably made a couple of bad decisions in there as well. And Paul Crabb's starting to open that gap up a little bit. It looked like Bousson was going to just eat him up there for a minute. We'll see how that shakes out. I really want to go back, and that's why I forgot to put the timing tower up. I was looking for this replay. I wanted to go back and take a look at when Barry actually passed Crabb. Make sure we get that on there.
He was a long way behind it. Oh yeah, Paul Crabb made a mistake. That's why Barry got past him. So that was not an overtake from Barry on Crabb. That was because Crabb made an error.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do this real quick. We're gonna go back to that again.
That was over at Survey, I think, where Crabb got out of shape.
Back here, and then we're gonna click on Paul Crabb and see what happens.
He's had a spin, I think. Although, in fact, he's allowed him to go past. I wonder why he's done that. I'm actually surprised he's done that, Paul Crabb, in all honesty. That's a surprising move to make. That's a very surprising move to make. I mean, if Paul LeMay, who's tuning in to the action, could maybe explain why he's done that, then that might help answer that question.
Yeah, I would love to hear Paul's opinion on that. Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know what to think of that. Let's go back here.
Hudson on the tail of Mellis. This is for 4th place overall. Mellis is the highest of the AMs, but I will say Ben Underdown, compared to what we saw from him in race 2, he's already out of the race, unfortunately. I don't know if he actually took the start, did Ben Underdown, but he's no longer in this one, and neither is Peter Solders or Even Bremer. Even Bremer, another one out of the race as well.
That's yeah, I'd be interested to find out what happened there. Let's see if we. There we go.
Hudson, he put all 4 wheels over the white line there, and he switches to the outside. Does Mellis fight back? He does fight back, and fair play to Mellis for making it as difficult as possible for Hutchison as they head down the hill towards the Camion and then the Cavalier. Right-hander as the circuit goes uphill. Oh, and Hudson very nearly running into him. We've seen this a lot, actually, where drivers get too close and they're not quite anticipating when the driver ahead of them starts accelerating.
Yeah, especially in that corner right there. That's that corner, again, that you come up and get light in. And, you know, if like I said, if you catch it wrong, you got to wait on that accelerator. And, you know, that can cause problems when there's somebody rattling your tail like that, especially if they got it a little more right than you did.
Andrew Horsworth through on Pullman for P6. Pullman, who is second in the AMS, and the driver running out the podium in that is David Walters in 8th overall.
Well, Walters, unfortunately, it looks like just had a little incident. I don't know if it was. Oh!
Yeah, came too close.
Kind of that same type feel there. Wait, you know, it just got up on the back and then kind of had to, you know, essentially kind of. Well, this is unfortunate, I think. I believe he's had a little incident here.
This is over. Is that at Survey where he is spun out? It looks like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's unfortunate for him.
He's down the order there. We're looking at Andrew Horswood, who's running in 5th place, or 6th rather. 6th overall, 5th in class. And we're looking.
Luke Maxwell got by him when he had that little incident, so Luke he's slowly climbing back up the field. I wonder if he's got damage. Let's pop in real quick and take a look at his wheel. Nah, he seems
not
to
too
be
bad,
okay.
actually.
No, he seems to be all right. I was just kind of curious there to see, because he's got the pace to make up some places here. We still got 15 minutes to go. That's a decent amount of time.
Well, his best lap of the race has been a 1:14.5. His last one was a 1:14.6. The best lap of the race so far has been from race leader James Barrow. It's a 1:14 dead. He is, well, I can say that Luke Maxwell is coming up close to where the battle of Stefan Mellis and oh no, so that's Mellis and Horsewood. Horsewood getting by Mellis for 5th place.
Yeah,
not that it changes the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I do that.
Yeah, go on. Well, no, it's okay. I'll let you.
I was just going to say that Horsewood's starting to push now. You're seeing him starting to move up the field a little bit. He's showing showing some of that pace that he had last race. Looks strong. By the way, Paul commented on our incident with Paul Crabb earlier. He said, maybe a slowdown for an off track or something like that. But typically, I mean, you may very well be correct, Paul, but typically to me, you don't stop like that for an off track. You could just slow down a little bit and get away with making that up. You got 30 seconds or so usually to get, to clear that. I don't know that you got to do what he did. But it's possible. I'd be curious to ask him if he, if we get a chance to chat with him at the end of the race. I mean, he is comfortably sitting in second now. I wonder if he thought it might just be faster to let Barry go, and because he knew that Barry was going to get him. I don't know.
If I was Paul Coe, just say God switch. He had a little switch coming out of that right-hander that undulates. That was Cavalier, I think it was, that he had a little bit of a twitch, and that's allowed Mike Bousson to close in a little. Heading down the hill, they come before the final part of the lap of Curvet.
Well, what's funny is he had opened up a nice little gap on Bousson. Bousson was right on his tail earlier when we were watching him, and he had spread that gap out. I wonder if maybe he just didn't want to, drive with the kind of pressure that Barry was going to put on him, and afraid of making a mistake maybe, and not wanting to lose his second place where he's at, keep his track position, keep his points. Who knows? Just speculation, I guess, at this point. Here comes Luke Maxwell, by the way.
This is Gert-Jan Polman. He's on the rear of. He should be able to dispose of him very, very quickly. Will the championship leader. And looking at the number of points he's gathered up tonight, well, by finishing second place in both races 1 and 2, that's given him 15 points each. So that's 30 points he's got. Now, the point system in race 3 is slightly different. It's 25 for a win, 20 for second, and then it's 1 point difference from every position downwards. So Maxwell, who's running in 8th place, if he was to remain there, that would give him 14 championship points, along with the 30 he's already got, so that's 44 championship points. He'd still come away from this round with more points than Matt Hudson, so he'll still extend his lead compared to what the gap was before a wheel had been turned here in Ledenon.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jurt Van Polen was putting up a fight here. I think he's got him here, but, well, maybe not. This is a nice little battle. Oh, there he goes. Okay.
Well, he's done him there at Curvet. Yeah. That is Maxwell through. But now he's got another 4 seconds to make up on Stefan Mellis. But he needs to be wary of Polman here, who might try and make a dive bomb into the triple gauge. And I don't think he's going to do it there. So I think that's done for Maxwell. He's through into P7.
Yeah.
Horsewood.
I think that's now that he's by him, he'll probably have some pace on him. Apparently this track's harder to pass at than I remember.
Well, it clearly has been a difficult circuit to pass, actually, compared to, let's say, what we saw at Watkins Glen and in Mount Panorama. Horsewood staying in touch with Matt Hudson here, coming out of the Cavalier corner, heading up the hill towards Survey. Matt Hudson, I really don't know where it's gone wrong for him tonight, in all honesty, because this is definitely not the pace that we saw from him in Watkins Glen. He was kind of all over the place at Mount Panorama, but this is certainly not been anything like what we saw from him in Watkins Glen.
I mean, at this point, I'm guessing maybe he's just not super comfortable here. But I don't want to sell Horsewood short either, or for that matter, Ben Underdown on their accomplishments with him. Like Horsewood staying with him here, and obviously won the last race, and Underdown held him off for my gosh, I don't even know how many laps, right? I mean, had to be eight or 10 laps maybe. You know, it was a while. You know, I'm not sure on the 8 or 10 actually, but you know, so I don't want to sell them short on their accomplishment by just saying, "Oh, McCutcheonson's having a bad day," you know. But he does seem to be a little off his normal pace for sure.
Well, he's doing his best to keep up with Mike Bousson, but he's like 4 seconds off. Hit the fellow Brit, and James Barry over 5 seconds clear of Paul Grab on course for his second win of tonight and the season. So it will be 2 wins and a third that James Barry would be coming away with.
That's a nice points night for a guy who needed it, you know. I mean, because we fully expect him to be a contender, you know, in this championship, and you know, he hadn't really had a championship contender kind of night so far, but this is definitely one of those.
We see James Barry. Now, he won race 1, which gave him 20 championship points. He got the point for pole as well, 21. Third in race 2 gave him 14 championship points. That's 35. He wins this one, which would give him 25. That would put him on, what is it, 60 points?
You're the one with you don't want me to have to take my shoes off, start counting over here. You know better than that.
Well, I'm just counting just projectile. I like to sort of give like permutations as to what.
No, I love it. You start asking me to help with the math, and I'm gonna struggle bad.
He came into this round. He came into this round with 70 points. 60 points here would give him 130. Hutchison, who's had, what was it, an 8th and a 5th in races 1 and 2, 4th in this. So 8th position would give him 9 points in race 1. 5th in race 2 would have given him, what was it, 15, 14, 13, 12. I think it's 12 points for 5th place. So what would that be? 21 plus the 4th place in race 3, which is 18. So you'd only get 39 points. So as it stands, Hudson will be coming away from this with 39 points. James Barry, 60. And Luke Maxwell, who's running in 7th place at the moment, soon to be 6th, because he's going to get by Stefan Millis, no doubt about that. It's just a matter of when he gets by, provided he doesn't trip over him here. And he certainly does not trip over him. What does Millis do? Does Millis come back? No, he doesn't. The move is done. Maxwell, 6th in this race. I think he'll end up finishing 6th because it's too big of a gap between him and Hoswood to be closed down. Maxwell, I would say 16 championship points alongside the 2 second places he's already got. That's 46 in total that he would get. So as it stands in the championship, Luke Maxwell would have 155 points. Hudson would have 137 and James Barry 130.
Wow. Okay. Well, that kind of changes things up a little bit.
So working it out, Maxwell would have, how big of a lead would he have in the championship? How many points did I say he would have as it stands? It would be, was it 48? I said.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was trying to sort
no, sorry,
out
16.
16.
So
okay.
yeah, 16. So 46 he would get out of this. So 155 points he would have by the end of tonight. So as it stands, he'll be leading the championship by 18 points over his nearest rival.
And he came in with what, about a 9
and 11
points.
11. We've got 5 minutes to go approx in this final race of the evening, and James Barry has got pretty much this one sewn up.
Yeah.
Paul Crabbe is still ahead of Mike Bousson though.
Yes. Yes. For now. I say that they've been. Oh,
he went wide.
He did run
That's
wide.
a mistake from Paul Crabbe.
Run wide.
Side by side they go here, Bousson and Crabbe. Is this going to be a change for second place? Bousson around the outside. Can he get slowed down as they go through the triple gorge? Crabbe holds on. Crabbe holds on for now, but that was so nearly second place loss for him. A little too deep though. That's because of the line he took through there. Bousson on the inside into Paul Connor. They nearly touched.
No, they touched.
They did touch, but Boson found a way through.
Yeah, yeah, he had him, and Crab tried to like slide over to cut him off, but they definitely touched right there. I'm gonna go back and show that. I guess.
Well, wait.
I just want to see. I'm gonna wait and see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all right now because Mike Boson is clear of Paul Crab for the time being. So we'll get a replay then to find out.
Yeah, watch from the chopper view. You'll be able to see it. I'm sure they touched.
Well, there goes Boost on the inside. He was entitled to go for it there. Later on the break, ooh, a little bit marginal there. He barged him out of the way, didn't he?
He kind of hip checked him, didn't he? I mean, that's all, you know. At first, I thought Crab come over on him, but it was more like Busan went over there to give him a little hip check. Yeah, that's all right. It's all good, clean racing. You know, that's.
We've just got a few laps to go. We've got around about. I think the leader got over the line around about 3 minutes and 40. So we've got 3 laps to go here, I think.
We'll see. This thing has seemed to cut our laps 1 lap short every time from what we thought. It's, you know, it throws that checker even if there's like 10 seconds left or something in the session. It's been a little interesting this evening. See if it does.
Just read a little consolation. He's through on Josiah Douglas into 10th place. He's had a race to forget, unfortunately. It's a big shame for Josh Reed because he's displayed some real good pace.
Real good pace.
Yeah, and it's all it's all come to fruition here in race number 3. It's a golden opportunity missed, in my opinion, for Josh Reed. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I would say certainly yes, but you know he's had some good runs so far. Yes, I agree. It is definitely maybe an opportunity missed here, but by the same token, he's had some good runs. And he just got caught up in that incident early, and it messed his race up. But I tell you what, if we got 3 laps left, now 2 now, I guess it would be. This Horsewood he's coming back on McCutcheon here pretty hard. And
they're also coming back on Boson and Crab.
Yeah. They're all tightening back up with a couple laps to go here. Crab is creeping back up on Boson. Yeah, they're all. I don't think there's enough time for them to really have any action here, but maybe.
We'll see. They are closing in on each other. Boson has pulled out a buffer though on Crab. I don't think there is a genuine chance of an attack here from Hudson. He has been getting the gap down on Crab in the last few laps, but I just think Crab, unless he makes a really daft mistake, I cannot see him losing that final podium position. He deserves a podium out of it, does Paul Crab. He's been very unlucky this season. He's been involved in a couple of collisions with James Berry, one in Mount Panorama and one in Watkins Glen, and I don't know why he even allowed Barry through there, perhaps because he didn't want to fight out with him and lose time.
I mean, like Paul LeMay was suggesting that it may be, he was at the end of a penalty and just had to to pay off the penalty. I don't know. I personally don't think that's what it was, but just by the behavior, the way he pulled over, maybe though. I would say for me personally, that's not how I would have served that penalty, especially not leading. The race, or it was in first when that happened. Yeah, that wouldn't have been the way I would have done it. But it looks like we're going to be able to find out because it looks like we might be able to ask him. So hopefully he'll.
James Barry coming around the last few corners to take the final race win of tonight. There he is, James Barry. What a job he's done this evening, rebounding from all the chaos of the last couple of rounds. It's been victory in race 1, third in race 2, and it's going to pick up another win in race 3. James Barry wins again in Ledenon. A storming drive over 13 seconds clear of the rest. Mike Boson is going to hold on for second place ahead of Paul Crab, John Hudson and Andrew Horsewood, leading to a photo finish for second place there. Second, third, fourth and fifth for those respective runners. Luke Maxwell a long way back in 6th place, but he's still in the championship lead ahead of John Hudson. 18 points clear by our calculations heading into the next round in Knock Hill. Stefan Millis, the winner of the AMS, just hold off Jan Polman to the end. David Walters is next, but he's got Josh Reed on his tail. So it could be a drag race to the line between those two. But David Walters holds on ahead of the Scotsman. At 9th and 10th, Josiah Douglas will be the last over the line in P11.
So has Mellis won an amateur race yet?
I know, I don't know off the top of my head.
Not this season, I know, but I don't know if this is his first win in this series. I'd be interested to find out, though. That's a good run from Stefan. I've been following him for a couple of seasons now. We were involved in a project with JP broadcasting together, so I kind of got to know him. So let's see. I think we've got everybody over now here. Let's see if we can pull up the feature results here.
James Barry wins for the second time tonight. Mike Bousson in second place ahead of Paul Crabb. John Hutchinson fourth. No podium for him this evening. Andrew Horswood fifth ahead of Luke Maxwell. Then Stefan Millis the winner of the AMS in P7. Gert-Jan Polman 8th. David Walters 9th. Josh Reed 10th. And Josiah Douglas in P11. We lost Even Bremer, Ben Underdown, Mena de Graaf, and the likes of Damien Gee and Peter Solders didn't even take the start again for race number 3. We'll give it a few minutes or so before we start doing interviews. But Jim, we've seen some interesting results tonight, but James Barry undoubtedly has been the star of the evening.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is the kind of nights that you expect from James Barry. That's he's so he's just, when he shows up, this is what he does, and it's great to see him back on form. It's great to see Bousson pick up a second place finish here. He's had some results that maybe didn't necessarily reflect his speed this season. Same as Paul Crabb. That's a great showing for him. And you look over here real quick at the AMs, and Stefan Millis getting a win. That's super exciting for him. And again, you can't forget about what Horswood and Underdown did in that second race tonight. Just incredible, both of them. That was so good. Yeah.
And Ben Underdown won the first two in the AMS.
Yes.
Stefan Millis coming out on top in race 3 that time around. But yeah, it was a good race actually from Stefan Millis to hold off Gert-Jan Polman, who, believe it or not, was on reverse grid pole for that third race. Dropped down the order and was able to finish second in the AMS. Since James Barry has been waiting patiently, let's just bring it in, Jim, because we are waiting for others to join as well. But we may as well get a word with James right now and find out what's how his evening has gone.
Oh, that's right.
So we're just waiting for
I got to pull him in. I'm used to.
Yeah, you got to pull him, haven't you? So
there you go.
That's the thing when you're the broadcaster, isn't it? James Barry, sir, 2 wins and a 3rd place. You did very well to avoid the chaos in the, race 3 involving your rivals of Luke Maxwell and John Hutchinson. But this week, far better in my point of view compared to the previous rounds of Watkins Glen and Mount Panorama.
Yeah, much better. Obviously, not people aren't too big fans of the track, but I really enjoyed it. I drove it before in the Formula Ford, so I was really up to speed quite quickly, and yeah, that was part of why I did well, avoiding some chaos. I was also involved in some chaos as well. Yeah, I mean, not too much to say about that. It was a weird race, to be fair, with stuff that happened.
Where was the pace then at Watkins Glen and Mount Panorama? Because we were studying the lap times of yours. I think you were like a good few tenths quicker than everyone else. Was it just the fact that, considering the fixed setup and the nature of the Ledenon circuit, did it just sort of play more into your hands? Did the undulation of the circuit sort of suit your style?
I don't know if you remember, but I was on pole position at Mount Panorama and I went from 18th to 2nd in one race, so clearly I was fast there. Watkins Glen is quite a low skill gap track, if you will. It's quite difficult to differentiate yourself from other people because it's quite a simple track. This one's much more challenging, so people really need to practice the track, and as I said, I drove it before, so I was up to speed with it, whereas other people were struggling a bit more. So that's all it was really. It will be kind of back to normal at other tracks, I think.
We calculated the points from this round. You're now on 130 points. I think you're 25 points off the lead in the championship. It underlines how much you can all change in one round.
Yeah, well, for sure, and yeah, it's an important result. If I'm looking at the championship, to be fair, I'm just here to kind of have some fun in this car. But if I can challenge for the title, then that'll be good. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Knockhill next. What are you thinking for that?
Yeah, it's great fun there. We did it when I did the first season in this series, and yeah, super fun. I don't know if I won that race. I think I was P2 in the feature race. And yeah, I know John loves it. John's super fast there, so it'll be a good challenge.
And maybe for the other circuits as well. If we have a look at the calendar as well, Jim, so we can fill our audience in again on where we're going to. We've got Sebring after Knockhill, then Thruxton, Zolder, Road America, Spa on the bike layout, and then the historic configuration of Monza. Any of those circuits that you feel you'll strive the most at, or are there any other ones which are sort of kind of like your bogey circuits that you think you could struggle at?
No, they should all be good. Looking at that, I enjoy Sebring in this car. I drove that in this car. That's really fun. The other ones, a lot of kind of draft tracks there, so it's going to be really tough. It's a lot of those tracks. It's a lot about widths rather than pace, and racecraft. So that'll be interesting, close racing, no matter how fast I am. So it'll be tough wherever we go.
Anyone you want to shout out to, James, before we let you go?
No, not really today, no. But thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
No problem. Thank you very much. Well, congratulations on your 2 victories and a 3rd place, and increasing your chances in the championship. A much better situation now compared to what it was before the evening had started.
All right, cheers, guys. See you later.
Thank you very much, James, and best of luck to Knockhill next week.
Thank you.
That was a brilliant performance by James Barry over the course of this evening. Let's speak to Mike Bousson, actually, who did very well to get up to 2nd place at the end of that 3rd race. Mike, a better evening, would you say, compared to Watkins Glen and Mount Panorama?
Yeah, just by luck more than anything else, I would imagine. Obviously, race 3 was good because there obviously was this almighty little dance at the beginning, which meant I could, because obviously that track, there's very limited overtaking. You've got to have a lot of overspeed to make any sort of move without a mistake. So yeah, obviously race 2 was a bit embarrassing. I was discussing this earlier with a friend, and it was not spinning it off the line, give it a bit more slip, and I'd done that and then didn't allow for the fact that I'd slipped it, tyres coming off the line. So first corner came and they didn't want grip, so I went round. So we're chalk that one up as a learning curve.
With these Radical SR8s, then, how have you found this machine? Because you've been around in this kind of championship for some time while racing in these SR8s. How have you found handling these, particularly on a circuit like Ledenon, where you consider the undulation? What have you got to adapt to a track like this with these cars?
To be fair, once, it's quite a daunting track to start with, but once you've got the basics of the track, to be fair, it was pretty good. The only thing I found I had to do was wind, and I was patient on the last race, was wind more and more front brake bias into it, just so it kept it nice coming out the corners, to be fair, so it didn't overheat the back. And it seemed to work because I've sort of gone like 4 clicks, 5 clicks higher than I normally would do on any other track. So that seemed to work, and I was waiting patiently for Paul, and I sort of knew where he was slower than me, and then there was a little mistake, so I sort of gave me the in and got him on switch. So, but the machine worked quite well right now once you got into the groove.
And how have you found this season? I think it's the first time we spoke, because I don't think we spoke during Mount Panorama or Watkins Glen, but how have you found your season so far?
A bit up and down, to be fair. Coming, I used to be, my own words, pretty fast in the SR8. then we went to the SR10, and it's made me a lot. I'm taking its time to get the feeling back, because the SR10 has made me into a lazy driver, and it's a totally different animal, much nicer to drive.
It's good to hear you say that, though. So many people think these cars are very similar. They're really not. The SR8 and the SR10 are completely different animals. They really are. It's really good to hear you say that. So many people have this assumption that I personally like the SR8 as far from a standpoint. I think it requires you to have a little more skill at keeping your momentum up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think when they chose to release the next radical in iRacing, they really made the wrong choice. In the UK, for example, you don't buy an SR10. The only place you get an SR10 is North America. They don't sell them in the UK at all. They'd have been better off, reconfiguring and going with an SR3, something that's a bit more, known, something you can relate to a bit more.
Right.
So it's a shame, really, they didn't go down that route, or even the SR1, to be fair. But the SR8 will do us for now.
Well, it's probably why the SR10 is struggling in iRacing. It doesn't. They're pushing hard. They give it good tracks. They put it on really popular circuits, and the official races aren't extremely populated. I think, people don't want to spend the money necessarily for that car when, you can go out and have a good time in the SR8, which is a free car.
This is it. We friends got an SR1. We go to the racetrack. Some of the semi-professional drivers. The amount of people that drive this in iRacing is actually, you speak to them, and how many people practice in iRacing on the radicals. It's astounded me, really, to be fair. So people would use it if they put more time into it, just not the SR10, preferably.
Right.
Because it has no relationship to anything in the UK.
Well,
I know obviously this is a worldwide thing, but I don't even think it's that common.
No, I think you're 100% on point there. I think you're exactly right. So congratulations again. It was good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Get you another podium finish this week. And you got anybody you want to shout out to?
The Ukrainian army drone pilots. They've done a grand job this week in taking out the Russian bombers, so I'll give it to the Ukraine army.
That's a good one. I like that.
Well, I got to sort of come away from the car speak a little bit, innit?
That's right. That's right. I shouldn't expect anything less.
Well, this is it, and I hope James is relaxing somewhere with pina colada that he couldn't bother to make it this week, boys. So
Yeah, no, he's not coming all season. You got the two of us all year. We're
going with the creme de la creme then.
Yeah, well, he's too big. He's too big now. He's like a celebrity.
No, I would say he's old.
He makes
he's retiring.
It could be that too.
Yeah,
but he makes like celebrity appearance in races now and stuff. And he like pops in, wrecks everybody in the field, and pops out. That's kind of what he does.
Yeah, that's it.
All right,
right.
Mike.
Oh, we better go because John's moaning I'm in the booth too long, and James is probably going to charge us double time on this. Right, boys.
Is.
Till the next one.
All right, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Oh, he's such a character. I love him.
I can't blame him. But I mean, after tonight's action, it proved to be a rather tricky circuit to overtake. Overtakes we did see get done, but on to Knock Hill next week. I honestly can't wait for Knock Hill. I know it's going to be a new experience for you to watch it. Never mind race around it or do some laps around it, Jim.
Well,
But
yeah, I'm going to go lap it this week just for the heck of it, to learn it, because you got me kind of excited about it. So I'm gonna go give it a whirl and see what I think.
yeah, it's about as undulating as this one, but it's a shorter version of it.
Well, I can't lie. I'm gonna go do something at Ledenon this week too. I say that this is a phenomenal week on officials for iRacing. Also, we got the 24-hour of Nürburgring this week, so a lot of people are going to be everything is, there's like half the official races are at the Nordschleife this week. So, and that's my favorite track. So I'm gonna put in a lot of laps there this week too. But I want to come race this track. This was fun. The passing may have been tough, but I tell you what, there was enough incidents. This track caused enough incidents to make it exciting. You know what I mean? There was just enough of these off tracks and little twitches that made it exciting. So I thought it was good racing.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. First experience for me watching these cars go around this track. Might have seen glimpses of it of French Formula 4 around this circuit, because they do race at Ledenon annually. But as far as the Radical SR8 is concerned, I've enjoyed the action over the course of tonight. Jim, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in as well. Do make sure you like and subscribe to the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel, and you can keep it right up to date with all the events that have been broadcast here. And we'll do it all again in 7 days' time in Knockhill. I'm Tom Cairns, he's Jim Cunningham, and we'll speak to you again soon when the Radical SR8 Championship returns.